Well, hello everyone. Well, today in this video, we're going to talk about how to motivate your teenager. This is another common question that I hear from parents. You come home at the end of the day and you just find your teenager laying there on the couch playing games or whatever, and it just a lot of times can be really frustrating for the parent. So anyway, today we're going to share, first of all, a distinction or perspective shift that may give you a whole different way of looking at this. I'm sure it will. And then also a couple of strategies that you can use to help move your teenager forward and move them into where they're inspired. So that's a little hint about something we're going to talk about today. So let's get started. Well, hello again, everyone. My name is Jim White, and I'm an author, coach, and the founder of the Family Enrichment Academy. And today we're going to be talking about how to motivate your teenager. But before we do this, like always, I just want to acknowledge and say thank you to you for taking the time to watch this video and for your commitment to be a better parent. We just really appreciate it. And when I say we, I'm talking about our community. We'd like to invite you to be a part of our community. We're a community of parents just like you who are really working towards and have a goal of just being better parents and to bringing more peace, joy, warmth, and love to our homes. And so again, welcome and thank you for your commitment. And actually, as a little bit of a gift or a enticement for you to continue to connect with our community, I have a free resource for you. One of the common questions we always get is that we can't get our teenagers to open up and to talk to us. And one of the ways to get them to do that is to ask better questions. And so what I have for you is a free resource. It's 10 questions you should never ask your teenager. Think of these as like conversation killers. And then I also have 10 great questions. These are the conversation starters. So there's a link down below. You can click that link and download that free resource as kind of a welcome gift for your connection to our community. So anyway, back to our topic today of dealing with your teenager and how do we motivate them. So again, I'm going to share a distinction today that I think you might find helpful around the distinction between motivation and inspiration. And there's a difference between this two and how maybe shifting to maybe trying to inspire your teen can make a huge difference. And then secondly, if that's the goal, what are a couple of strategies that you can put in play to inspire your teen? So let's get started taking a look at that distinction between motivation and inspiration. So let's take a look at the difference between motivation and inspiration. In simple terms, kind of a high-level overview, I like this to suggest to parents to think of motivation as an outside-in approach, meaning that, let's say you want your teenager to take out the trash, and so you motivate them by threatening them to take away the car for the weekend, let's say, if they don't. So again, it's a reward or a punishment on the outside that's trying to get the teen to do something. It's really a function of control. You're trying to control. So motivation is outside in. It's the fear of a consequence or a punishment or the interest or attraction of a reward. Where on the other side of the table we have inspiration, and inspiration is more of an inside-out approach. In other words, you do the activity because you want to. It feels good. You're inspired to do it. So it's more of an inside-out approach. And what I'm suggesting to you is that your teen's lack of motivation, what people call lack of motivation, or maybe laziness, they're not trying hard in school, or they don't want to do their chores, or they're just laying around the house. Those are all just symptoms of not being inspired. And if you can find a way to inspire your teen to where they feel a sense of purpose, if you will, which again is a bigger conversation, but if they feel a sense of purpose, that those kinds of activities will just start to happen naturally and they will feel good about doing them. And that's a contrast to trying to control. And again, we talk a lot about the distinction between control and empowerment, and one being fear-based. And you can see how motivation can be fear-based. It's like the threat of a consequence, if you will, versus empowerment, where you're trying to help them to be their absolute best. So I'm throwing out that you want to think more in terms of empowerment and how can we inspire our teenager just in all aspects of their life. And with that will come they won't be lazy anymore, or they'll appear to be motivated, if you will, but again, it'll be an inside-out kind of an approach. So that's what we're kind of working towards, and that's the shift in perspective I'd invite you to consider. And so what we're going to talk about next is a couple of strategies that we can use, put into play, to help create some inspiration. Now, actually, before we do that, though, I want to throw one other thing out. It may be, and I want you to do a little self-reflection for yourself and ask the question, are you feeling inspired? And if you aren't, and it happens a lot, I mean, we go through periods where maybe we feel uninspired. And if you're in that place, this could be another great opportunity to build connection with your teen by sharing that with them. And communicating the goal of let's do this together. It's like a shared experience. Let's see if we can find some inspiration and really work towards a purpose that we both can work towards. And again, so it's that shared experience that you can go through, which will build connection. And it's a chance to be vulnerable for your teen and share with them why it's important to be inspired. I mean, if you get into your adult life and you're uninspired, that robs you of joy and peace of mind and happiness as well. So it's part of your journey and your teenager's journey to discover and learn how to be inspired and what kinds of things inspire you. So again, a great opportunity to build connection as well. So let's take a look at a couple of strategies of how you might work towards that, finding that thing or that purpose that's going to make you feel inspired. Okay, so let's talk about an exercise you can walk through to help to create some inspiration for both maybe your teenager and yourself. So what we're going to talk about is the process or the value in creating a vision statement and a mission statement, both for your family and for each individual potentially within your family. Now, before we dive into that, though, I want to acknowledge something, and that is that this is maybe a much bigger conversation than what some of you came here for. Some of you may have flipped on or clicked on this video saying, I just want some kind of a tip or a trick to get my teenager to take the trash out, right? And now we're talking about much bigger conversations around vision and mission and inspiration and those, again, it's going to take longer. In other words, this is a bigger conversation. But I just want to invite you to think more long term. I mean, part of our goal here is to empower our teenager to be their absolute best and set them up for a life. We're not talking about, again, the trash next Tuesday night. We're talking about setting them up for a life where they can experience peace, joy, happiness, and purpose within their life. And so these bigger conversations, while they may not, they may feel like more than you may have wanted initially, I just really invite you to open up to the possibility that these kinds of conversations and these kinds of goals, if you will, what they can bring for your family. So anyway, so the exercise to go through is, first of all, creating a family vision statement. And actually, this is something that I'm working on right now, kind of a mini course, if you will, to help guide families through this process. But the premise is to identify, first of all, like values. What's important to your family from a value standpoint? For example, honesty might be in there, or respect, treating each other with respect, or speaking to each other with respect, appreciating differences. Those are all examples of the different values, things that are important to your family. So make a list of those. And again, I would invite you to engage your teenager to do the same thing. And then from there, you start to move into, okay, what's important to us? As far as who we are, what we stand for, those kinds of things. And you can even extend that into, what kinds of situations are happening out in the world that we're uncomfortable with, that we feel like should be better or made better. And that's really goes to the last question, is then how can you make a difference? What can you do? It's not, just about the sort of the ideas or the values, but then what can you do to move a particular situation forward? So this is all wrapped up in that idea of creating a vision statement. And part of what I wanted to suggest is do that for the family. So have a kind of an overreaching vision statement for the family, which gives your teenager a sense of belonging. What you want is for your teenager to be able to proudly say, I'm a member of the Smith family, for example, and we stand for certain things. That's kind of a mindset that you want to be there. But then the one step further is to have your teen start to develop, do a little vision casting for your teen, for them as an individual. what's important to them? What do they see out in the world that they would like to see better? And then that big question, this is where the inspiration really starts to kick in, is how can you make a difference there? Or what could you do to make a difference? Trying to think of an example. Let's say your teenager went to camp as a young child and they just loved the whole camp experience. And so maybe when you're talking to them, they say, you know what, I just would love to create the most, the best and an awesome camp experience for kids to experience when they're elementary school age. And that's sort of it becomes a purpose of theirs, sort of a vision, so they want to have their own camp and have it just be this awesome camp that kids can go to. And so again, you do a little vision casting of what's important to them, where they want to go. And then you start backing it up to today. And you say, well, what do you need to learn? What kind of education do you need to have? What skill sets, what training do you need in order to accomplish that goal? And again, so you can see how that brings it back to today, which then gives them a sense of purpose for today, or has them feel a little sense of inspiration for their activities today. And again, that sense of hope that's out there, that creates a more joyful teenager, and that more joyful teenager is going to appear to be less lazy, if you will, or less unmotivated. And they're going to willingly do things around the house because they're just in a better place overall. So anyway, and I know in this short video, it's hard to really dive deep into it, but the idea of creating a vision and a mission statement as part of a whole vision cast, what is my purpose? What am I after? What are my goals? Where do I want to be 10 years, 15, 20 years from now? And then that helps to create a sense of purpose that you can pull back to today and start to lay out plans for how do I get from where I am today to where I want to be in the future. And again, you can do that for yourself as well. So anyway, just a quick introduction to that idea of vision and mission, and creating that for your family as well as each individual can go a long way to starting to have that teen start to feel some inspiration, and it really just transforms them into a different person when that starts to happen. So let's recap. So we started with the question of how do I motivate my teenager? And I've kind of spun it around on you a little bit and introduced this idea of motivation versus inspiration, and maybe put out there that the goal really is to inspire them and make it more of an inside-out approach. And with that, I suggested that the idea or place to start is by creating a vision or a mission statement for your family and for each member within your family. And so, I really encourage you to dive into that process. And as I mentioned, I'm working on some additional resources that can help you work your way through that. But I think you can find a lot online as well. So just get out there and make it, again, it's just going to be a shared experience for you and your teenager to go through that process. And really, it's like creating a purpose, or finding your purpose, if you will. And what will happen, and what I'm suggesting will happen, is as your teen starts to feel inspired and they feel a sense of purpose in their life, not only will that serve them for the rest of their life, but they'll just be in a better place. And when they're in a better place, they're going to be more engaged with the family, and they're going to be more willing to engage and support and share in responsibilities around the home as well. So just everything will work better. So that's the sort of what I'm proposing that the solution will be. It starts by getting them inspired, and you can start that process there with the vision and the mission statement. So anyway, hopefully this maybe inspires you a little bit and kind of gets you started down that path. And it's like I say, it's always an honor to serve you and be able to share this information. And again, I create content on a regular basis. So if you have any other questions or ideas or things that are concerning to you, be sure to share them with me. And I'm always looking for new ideas for additional videos that I can do. I did want to remind everybody that I do have that free resource as kind of a gift for connecting with our community, and that is those 10 questions you should never ask your teenager, as well as those 10 great questions, the conversation starters. And I would assert that if you start working these questions in and these strategies for questions in, you might be amazed at how much your teen will open up to you. So again, it's truly an honor to be able to serve and support you as you move along your parenting journey, and it is a journey. And again, before we sign off, I just want to remind everybody that you do have the ability to choose your perspective, and a change in perspective changes everything.